Big time lightning.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Scott Palmer, Dave Roberts, Lisa Thomas-Laurie, and Mark Howard.
Good evening. The big story on Action News tonight. 2 people dead in a sudden storm that hit parts of the Delaware Valley.
And now we're bracing for more storms to hit tonight. Let's take a look first at a live picture from Chopper 6. We're over downtown Yardley, where there is still large quantities of water in various parking lots and other low-lying areas. You can see there from the gyrocam a good, steady, clear picture of some areas that are still full of water from last night. The worst, of course, 2 people drowned when they were caught in flash floods overnight. Here's a flood scene earlier now in Bucks County. Among those hardest hit, Yardley, Bristol, Langhorne. Tens of thousands of motorists were stranded. Crews in boats made dramatic rescues of whole families who'd been chased from their flooded homes. In the meantime, parts of Mercer County, New Jersey, also were caught up in this torrential rains, causing accidents and major damage. We'll have the complete story all coming up.
All right, and as Mark just mentioned, our area is still not out of the woods yet. We are bracing for more bad weather. Nothing, though, like what we got last night. Let's go directly outside to Dave Roberts in AccuWeather for the very latest. Dave?
Well, Lisa, I think those are the key words. Nothing compared to what we had last night. And right now, cells that we've been watching are kind of falling apart. The totals are just phenomenal out of this storm. It's one of those storms that you see perhaps once in a lifetime. Look at these rainfall totals. Langhorne, Pennsylvania, 8 inches. Ewing, New Jersey, a little over 7 inches of rain. Lawrenceville, 6 inches plus. Neshaminy Falls, 5 inches. And Richboro, 4.08. All of this rain came in a very short period of time as it just hung over basically those areas that you see up on the screen. Now, what's going to happen tonight? All right, partly cloudy is the call from AccuWeather. And the key words again are brief and widely scattered thunderstorms. Nothing to compare with what we went through last night. Overnight low 66 degrees. Most likely most people will not see any precipitation at all overnight. Action radar verifies that right now. There's one minor cell down there around Salem and Cumberland counties, and then to the north, moving out of Mercer. All in all, just very, very light stuff at this particular time. So that's much better news tonight. We'll continue to watch it, though. It's warm and humid and muggy, and things tend to fire up from times. So we'll continue to watch it with Sky 6 and, of course, Action Radar, the very latest here on Action News. Much better news for this hour, Mr. Mark.
Thanks, Dave. Now, last night's storm was one very large, very intense low-pressure cell, and it sat for some 3 hours over Bucks and Mercer counties, straddling the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border. Damage will run into the tens of millions of dollars, but worst of all, it claimed 2 lives. 2 men swept away by the raging floodwaters. John Rollins reports.
2 Bucks County families will never forget last night's weather. The torrential rains brought death to loved ones. 54-year-old Carlo DeLeonibus was driving to his daughter's 8th grade graduation here at Yardley's St. Ignatius Church. This now quiet creek was boiling. It wiped out a stone bridge and swept away several cars.
The police seem to say that the bridge went down, that the bridge collapsed. There was a car on the bridge, and they think that that might have been Carlo's car.
DeLeonibus's body was found at a nearby golf course. His son remembered a charismatic father who liked people.
My dad was a very caring, loving father. He would see us every week. He'd take us out. We'd have a great time and on. It's a shame that people have to die in floods like this.
Meanwhile, in a small Levittown house, a mother remembered the circumstances that took the life of her son, John Murray. They had been driving on Morrisville Road when their car stalled.
The water was up to our shoulders, up to here, inside the car. And John finally said, look, there's no getting out of this. He said, I've got to go to one of these industrial places where I can see lights.
But after Murray left, his mother was rescued. For some reason, Murray returned to the car. The rushing water pushed him down. But his mother speculates her son, who she says was suicidal, decided not to save himself.
Somehow slipped and fell on the front of the car. Now, my guess is that once he was underwater, that he said to himself, well, this is the perfect answer. Nobody can be blamed for it. Nobody's in trouble. I'm just going to lie here.
Hendel said her son was very depressed because he was seriously disabled after being attacked and beaten several years ago. John Rollins, Channel 6 Action News.
Well, the fast-moving floodwaters took their toll in damages to homes, businesses, and highways. As a result, Bucks County officials late today declared a limited state of emergency in 7 communities which were hard hit by this storm. Bristol Borough, which you're looking at right now, is among them. Also included Bristol Township, Lower Makefield Township, Yardley, Pendle, and Middletown Townships. Officials say damage in Middletown Township alone is already in the tens of millions of dollars. Cecily Tynan joins us now live from Yardley with more on the tremendous damage in this highly concentrated storm. Cecily?
That's right, Mark. Right now it's sunny here in Yardley, but it was dramatically different 24 hours ago. Now, people who have lived in Yardley all their life say this was a storm like none other and one they will never forget.
There was 4 feet of water in the back parking lot, 6 feet of water in the middle parking lot in this development, and the cars just floated away.
Today, many Yardley residents are finding their cars in surprising places, on trees and riverbeds. Last night's ferocious flooding eroded house foundations, tore chunks of asphalt from bridges. Now that asphalt litters golf course fairways. Like many tragedies, last night's storm is bringing neighbors together, trying to make the best of a frustrating situation.
Now look at his weight loss program.
Much of what wasn't destroyed by the flooding is now covered in mud. Power outages have left traffic lights dark, businesses closed. So it's time for cleaning up for residents like Catherine Cuckledge, who's lived creekside here since 1940.
I've never seen anything like this, not even since 1955. When we had the flood in the Delaware. But this is devastation.
And it will be certainly a long time before this town returns to normal. Now, I'm standing in front of one of the many bridges that was washed out by the flooding. It was here where one person died. Also, another car plunged into the creek last night. That driver survived, and we'll have the story of her dramatic rescue coming up tonight on Action News at 6. I'm Cecily Tynan reporting live on the Action Cam, Yardley.
Thank you, Cecily. There is one small bright spot for waterlogged commuters in Yardley tonight. SEPTA's R3 West Trenton line is back up and running. Now, the Yardley train station had been deserted much of the day, while about a mile down the road, SEPTA crews spent the day repairing an underground sewage line that ruptured as a result of last night's storm. Now, the problem shut down the R3 north of Langhorne. Shuttle buses were in use for much of the day today. However, once again, the R3 West Trenton line is back up and running. However, you should expect some delays. Well, the situation is also improving tonight for 9,500 Bucks County residents still without electricity. PECO crews were out in Newtown Township passing out dry ice to help residents save their perishables. So far, they have distributed about 83,000 pounds of dry ice. PECO says 119,000 customers across the area lost power during the storm. They expect to have power restored to the remaining customers by 6 tonight.
Vernon Odom's been in Bristol Township most of this day talking to victims of this storm. Vern, it is an awesome sight.
It has been, Mark, throughout the day, but one of the remarkable things about flash floods is how quickly the water can disappear after coming so suddenly and reaching so much havoc. Route 13 out here near Bath Road is an example. This morning, people will remember who saw us that it looked like a terrible flood zone out here. Now it's bone dry out here on the street, and had you not seen it, you wouldn't know anything had happened this morning. The real desperation, however, was in Bristol's residential sections.
From this house all the way down has water in it.
Peter Leomporo paddled back down his Laurel Bend Street today, surveying the damage done to his neighborhood, one of the hardest hit by the flooding. Eventually got to his own home, where the water damage was extensive.
We're going to say this is our living room. As you can see, the water line. I mean, they're wet up to the bottom of the cushions.
Pete not only canoed his own family to safety last night, but darn near everyone around him as the water came crashing in.
If it wasn't for the one neighbor who lives on the street for that canoe, a lot of people would have had a really hard time of getting out of here. And that's the only boat I saw going up and down the street all night.
The rain that hit Langhorne, Yardley area, and then when it came down, then the high tide from the river came up, and we got sandwiched in the middle.
Oh, we're right next to them.
Youngsters could frolic in the lake created by the flash flooding and enjoy an extra day out of school, but the parents understand just how much can be lost in a crisis like this. Insurance money can never compensate for precious family keepsakes and memories that are irreplaceable.
My parents' wedding album.
Did it get wet?
Yeah, it's soaked. And my parents are both deceased. So It's coming home with me so I can try to dry them out.
There were many heart-wrenching stories like that up here today. We'll have more of them a little bit later, and there's great concern here about what the deal on insurance coverage is going to be. I'll have more on that at 6. Vernon Odom, Channel 6 Action News, reporting live from Bristol, Bucks County.
Thanks, Vern. Flash floods also caused heavy damage in the Trenton area in Mercer County. Now, when the Gold Run Creek overflowed its banks last night, the force of the water pushed this vehicle, you'll see it in a minute, there it is, upside down. It pushed it under a bridge and into the Delaware River. The only reason the people inside were not killed is because someone heard their screams and rescued them. Many basements were flooded. Now, this one on Mulberry Street in Trenton held up to 8 feet of water. And in Ewing, along Upper Ferry Road, the water found its way throughout some homes there, sweeping away dishes, even silverware. That was silverware there with the mud caked on it.
And of course, we'll have much more on the storm coming up. Live reports at 5:30 and 6. For now,
the show you. Action News continues with Scott Palmer, Dave Roberts, Lisa Thomas-Laurie, and Mark Howard.
Hello again. Here are some of the big stories we're following for you tonight on Action News. Flash flooding in the Delaware Valley leaves a deadly deluge in its wake. 3 people are dead after a murder-suicide in West Philadelphia. And a taped confession could prove pivotal in a murder trial in Burlington County, New Jersey.
now the details. Parts of Bucks County are still underwater tonight after a vicious spring storm unleashed floodwaters that killed 2 people. Nearly 3 hours of torrential downpours last night choked runoff drains and turned docile creeks into deadly waterways. The rushing waters caught 53-year-old John Murray and his mother along Morrisville Road in Morrisville. His car stalled. He went to get help. Rescuers came and took his mother to safety. He came back not knowing that she was safe.
He returned to the car, and I guess maybe to see if his mother was okay. And he had slipped, and they went underneath the car, and they found him an hour later.
The Levittown man had been seriously disabled from a mugging years earlier. 52-year-old Carlo DeLeonibus of Yardley also drowned when his car went off Reading Avenue. A stone bridge collapsed there. And this woman, Martha Polensky, was nearly the 3rd fatality last night. Her car went off the same spot where DeLeonibus had driven off, but she managed to hang on to a tree until she was rescued. More on her story at 6 o'clock.
Well, elsewhere in Yardley, residents are laboring to collect their wits while facing terrible property damage. The pounding waters uprooted trees and instantly tore away at the foundations of several homes. Front yards look like rubbish heaps with mounds of debris that were left by the waters. Affected homeowners are now wondering whether insurance will cover the damage. 119,000 PECO Energy customers lost power last night in Bucks County. Most are back online tonight. Some stores in Yardley were closed today because of the blackout. Many traffic lights were also off. Well, Bristol also suffered hard in the storm's aftermath. Parts of Route 13 were under several feet of water, and one woman got stuck as the action cam rolled earlier today. This guy trying to hitch a ride at the same spot may have been trying to be funny, but there is nothing humorous about the flood damage to homes. Just ask Steve Halchuk and other homeowners who awoke to find appliances and personal items floating in several feet of water. They now face a rough time putting their lives and property back in order.
Taylor Street in Trenton is still underwater tonight, nearly 24 hours after the flood hit there. A number of warehouses and businesses took a big hit. Damages could be in the millions of dollars. New Jersey correspondent Nora Mushanek reports.
Mike Rossetti of SNL Enterprises took a look at the 4 feet of water in his publishing and advertising warehouse, 125,000 square feet, and knew he was in trouble.
Right now, I'm figuring my best guess is probably between $10 and $12 million worth. We have a major problem here.
The same was true across the street at AJR Custom Fabricators, a sheet metal house with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of specialized equipment, all of it soaked.
Every piece of electrical stuff that is in there is underwater, and my CNC equipment, which is almost most of my heavier stuff, is going to be damaged.
These weren't the only places swamped today. In Ewing, firefighters from throughout the area helped people on Cleardale Road pumping out the several feet of water that accumulated in their homes.
We started at the beginning of the street, and we're going house to house checking for water. Some people called in, we're on the list, and we're pumping them out.
We had a drainage system installed about a year ago that all depends upon, a sump pump pumping the water outside. And when the power went out, the water just came up and up and up.
I haven't even opened the refrigerator. That's low priority. The water in the basement and the gas and the electricity was our biggest concern. As many as 15,000 homes were left without power because of the storm, and while the cleanup continues, PSE&G says it has restored electricity to all of those homes. I'm Nora Mushanek, Channel 6 Action News, Trenton, New Jersey.
Well, if you've been tuned to Channel 6 all day, you have been seeing those stunning pictures from the gyrocam in Chopper 6, an awesome display of nature's force from a camera which is steady as a rock. Right now, Dan Cuellar is back up in the chopper with a relatively improved picture, Dan. The waters are receding, huh?
That's right, Mark. The floodwaters have receded significantly from those torrential storms. However, there are still a few trouble spots here in lower Bucks County, particularly here in Yardley. You're now looking at an area along Afton Avenue, just past Main Street and near the Delaware River. This has dramatically improved since last night, but a few homes remain submerged or at least surrounded by floodwaters, not to mention a few roads, and I might add parking lots as well at the Yardley Commons townhomes. A number of residents have spent the day trying to mop up and salvage what they can, and it's been a double whammy for some of the folks out here because back during the winter, after the blizzard of '96, they were hit by floods created by all that melting snow. There were large chunks of ice, you'll remember, that resembled icebergs, sweeping into homes by the floodwaters from the Delaware, and at that time, Yardley, among other communities, was declared a disaster area. Now, here we go again, and this time, as we've reported, one man here in Yardley has lost his life in the floodwaters. There are still some roads, as I mentioned, that remain closed here in Yardley. River Road between Woodside and Route 332 remains closed at this time. Also in Lower Makefield, Edgewood between Sandy Run Road and Schuyler Drive is closed. And in Middletown, Humeville Road between Business Route 1 and Comley remains closed. So those are just some of the roads that remain closed, despite the fact that the waters have receded significantly. As you can see here, live from Chopper 6, some of the areas, some of the parking lots are still submerged in water. As you can see, it's still a problem, and it probably is going to be this way at least until tomorrow morning. So that's the story from here in Yardley. Mark and Lisa, people trying to cope with the situation and trying to clean up.
All right, Dan, thanks a lot. Well, the damage from the floods and what to do about it was the focus of a meeting by emergency management officials in Middletown Township, Bucks County, late this afternoon. Karen Freeman joins us live now from Middletown Township with the outcome of that meeting. Karen?
Well, Lisa, at 2 o'clock this afternoon, a limited state of emergency was declared for lower Bucks County, and what that means essentially for the people who live out here is that it is still a problem area, and they're hoping by declaring that emergency that it will eventually translate into federal or state aid. Now, the municipalities included are the following: Lower Makefield, Yardley Borough, Falls Township, Middletown Township, Bristol Borough, Pendle Borough, and Bristol Township. 8 to 10 inches of rain fell in these areas yesterday, and officials today called it the worst rainfall in 20 years.
I mean, you have homes that had some went from 2 to 3 inches of water in the house to some had 3 and 4 feet of water in the house. And in the instance of the Bristol Township Senior Citizen Center, there was 4 foot of water in it, and they just put a new addition on, a new kitchen, and the place is destroyed. And you have to rip out the walls, rip out the insulation. So there was a lot of damage inside of homes as compared to other storms, the snowstorms and stuff, where it's tree damage, it's street damage.
Emergency management personnel spent the day surveying the area by land and by air. So far, they have totaled tens of millions of dollars of damages just in Middletown Township. Now, overall, 334 homes have reported damage. There has been at least $500,000 worth of damage to state roads, and that includes bridges like this one in Yardley Borough. As far as the roads in the area, you may have heard Dan mention a few moments ago that Humeville Road was closed. Officials here say most of the roads by now are open. Those that remain closed, a couple of the streets may be open a little bit later. As far as electric, we are told there are still 9,000 people without power in the area at this hour. And finally, I should mention housing to you. Everybody that had a problem has been taken care of. Housing has been offered. If they have any other problems tonight and they need an overflow, they say they would open schools. Hopefully they won't have to do that. And we are presently waiting for the Lieutenant Governor to arrive. He is going to be here. He will talk with emergency management officials, check out 1 or 2 sites, and once again, that's in the hopes that they can eventually secure some kind of federal or state aid for the area. So that is the situation here from Middletown Township. I'm Karen Freeman reporting live. Back to you.
Thanks, Karen. And of course, Dave Roberts will be back with the latest on the AccuWeather forecast and what we can expect in the way of storms and rainfall tonight.
In the meantime, on to other news now. It makes much nicer this evening than yesterday.
Yes, we're in a good situation right now. Let's see if we could just stay there. Let's go to Action Radar right off the top now. You can see one isolated pretty sight, but you can see the warm, hazy, humid stuff just hanging in there. 84 degrees was the official high. Today, the low 67 degrees, present temperature reading 81. Winds out of the southwest at 8 miles an hour. Tonight, partly cloudy, 66 degrees, scattered thunderstorms in the area. Just the possibility of that, as we just showed you. If anything pops up, it'll be the isolated variety. Most people will not see anything at all as far as precipitation is concerned overnight. Amen to that. For tomorrow, Friday, it's going to be a warmer day. We're up to 88 degrees, a mixture of clouds and sun. Saturday, 86 degrees, but less humid on Saturday. Starts to feel better. And then on Sunday, 82 degrees. Well, as we found out last night, if we didn't know already, floods can be very, very deadly. Each year, they claim more lives than hurricanes or even tornadoes. So the AccuFacts file tonight takes a look at the big killer. The bulk of the rain fell in a small band about 10 miles wide, 10 miles long and 3 miles wide, along a line running from just east of Langhorne, Bucks County, Ewing in New Jersey. Up to 10 inches of rain fell in spots in that area. Now, thunderstorms depend on winds at the middle and upper levels to drive them along, even when winds at the ground are strong. But last night, the upper level winds were very, very light. So the storms stalled, and the rains became flash floods. Now, 2 people died when their cars were caught in those flood waters. Many people underestimate the power of the water. In fact, water moving at just 4 miles an hour exerts, look at this force, 66 pounds per square foot. But when you double the speed up to 8 miles an hour, the force zooms to 264 pounds per square foot. So beware of any flood water. Oftentimes, when we have floods like this and people see water, even in their vehicles, they attempt to drive through it. And it's always a mistake.
Not a good idea.
No.
All right.